Well, this thing says I'm live. Three white horses fell in a mud hole. It was a very dirty joke. How's that for a story? Because I just don't know right off the top of my head. I've got a head full of current events. She's doing okay. She's just tired. Reverend Dream, howdy, howdy. Mama Linda. Let's see if anybody else comes in. Let's see. Christine messaged me. Hello, Christine. Well, already done that message. Hello, Arlene. 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 Yeah, she had a little issue yesterday, and the troll kept wanting to talk to her, even though she kept backing up to the car to get to the car, and the troll couldn't take a hint until the reason why she was kept trying to get to the car made itself evident, and the troll was like, "Ooh, you might ought to go." Well, no duh. Told her next time, tell her, say, "Look, tummy troubles, I got to go." And everything. So I know what that takes out of her. So we went and got us some Chinese and all. And well, that didn't help none because she had a rough night last night. I did eat all mine last night, but I finished it up today, and I kind of had a little bit of effect from that myself not too long ago. So I won't promise how long I'll be on here, but he went made for a rough night for her. This is gonna get where we'll just have to quit going out to eat. It doesn't seem to matter what it is anymore. It messes us up. So, anywho, she's in there laying down playing on her phone, and I'm in here. Gonna take up a little bit of that time. I don't know if I'll be on here the whole 2 hours, an hour, 5 minutes, what. Just depends on how things hit me. So I had finished off mine from last night. Then I ate me a bowl of cream of chicken and egg with some crackers. Had to do a little bit of my doing, and now I'm a little bloated. So, part of life, I reckon, part of getting old. I understand, Mama Linda. Melinda. So, I don't know if Mama Bear be in here or not. She asked me if Aline was going live. I told her, I said no. I was going to be going for a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. I know it ain't Elaine and her game night, so I don't expect too many to be here. Dale's got one going. He's co-streaming with Rainy Ridge. I imagine there'll be quite a few folks there. That's all right. Anybody shows up, shows up. Everybody else, well, as long as they having fun, I guess that's all that matters. Well, folks, we finding out that rabbit hole going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Bill Barr apparently is a part of that shadow government. That's disappointing, but not surprising. Was just watching some Benny Johnson in the middle of a Benny Johnson video. Apparently, the Southern District of New York FBI field office is tied to Maureen Comey. Yep, the daughter of James Comey. Well, what could possibly go wrong? And she's some sort of attorney for something there. Uh, Folks, the deep state shadow government is very extensive. So, but the good thing on that is, at least now we know, and we know it goes deep. Part of the battle is knowing what you're fighting against. I think every one of those agents up there that has hindered Pam Bondi from doing what she said she was going to do ought to be in handcuffs pending charges of a multitude of charges, not the least of which should be treason, because they have defied the Attorney General of the United States. So, they all burn hard, as they should. But let's face it, you can't have two governments running the nation. All we've had in government that we know of is government putting on a show, been a showpiece for the people, while the ones actually controlling stuff has been behind the scenes, and we've all known it for years. We really have. And some of them in the showpiece have been a part of that shadow government. Like Shifty Schiff. He's a huge part of it. There's going to be a lot of them going down once they start shaking off the low-hanging fruit, like some of them FBI agents that are defying the legal authority. They'll start talking. Alvin! They'll start talking. There's going to be a lot of them talk real fast in order to get a life sentence, because the death penalty is going to be waiting on them otherwise. And they might still get it, whether they talk or not. And I hope those penalties are applied within 30 to 60 days of sentencing. I don't want taxpayers to have to pay for them 3 hots and a cot for the next 20, 30 years waiting the implementation of their sentence. Yeah, you want to get real good updates on stuff going on. Listen to Benny Johnson or Devory Darkins or Professor Nez, N-E-Z. That's how you spell that. But them folks, I'm going to tell you, they stay up to date on everything. They'll tell you the real deal. So, folks mad at Trump because prices didn't go down on day one. Well, the process began on day one. But with everything he's having to fight, it's a wonder he's been able to get the process started towards it. I know the gas prices were down by about $1. I like that. Instead of almost $4, paying under $3. I call that good. But it's going to take time. Everybody anxious for that list. Well, small steps, people. Everybody getting upset because it didn't go off the way they think it should. And then people not agreeing with it being done in phases. Well, folks, the thing is, there's so much information that it's going to need to be brought out in phases so that people can have it fresh in their mind. And I think it should go out to influencers to put out there, because most people get their news anymore from trusted podcasters that are putting out the truth. They ain't going to sit there and go to a government website and look it all up to read for themselves. A few will, but the majority won't. They'll get it from the podcasters, the influencers. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. But then you also have to take into account they're dealing with forces the American people can't comprehend. They're dealing with forces that if they can make you disappear, they will make you disappear without a trace. And I can guarantee you right now they're trying to plot ways to make a few certain people disappear. Because they've been entrenched for half a century at least. They've got a whole network set up, been doing this thing. And listening to one today, he's talking about Wall Street's behind a lot of it, but I think China is still behind Wall Street. And all the rest of them, they all work for China. They're traitors to the nation. So, but most Americans are so first world problems, they don't have any capacity for understanding the depths of evil that we're dealing with. You're dealing with types that are way old school in the ways of treachery and espionage and evil. Straight up evil. They're making the decisions behind the scenes. I'll give you a good example. It's a power play. I worked for a company one time, manufacturing plant. The plant manager, he told the assistant plant manager he wanted things thus and so. Plant manager said, okay. Well, after the plant manager left, the assistant plant manager said, disregard that, do it like this. Well, later on, when the plant manager came back around to check on things, he saw it wasn't being done the way he said. The assistant plant manager telling the plant manager, well, I told him, Joe, I told him. Yeah, he told him all right. He told him to do otherwise. He told him to do as he wanted him to do and not as the plant manager wanted him to do. Then turned around and blamed it on the people he told to do it, as though it was their fault. It's the same thing, just on a much larger scale. Now, people have seen power plays like that in y'all's lives. Yeah, it's like, Mama Bear, It's like, y'all seen it. I'm sure several of you, like myself, have been in a situation where you told the boss, great idea, and they naysayed it like it was idiocy. 6 months to a year later, they bring it up to their bosses and they implement it because it's a great idea. You just kind of look at your boss and say, uh-huh. Then the boss is looking at you like, I don't know what you're talking about. I came up with that. No, boss, I gave you that X amount of time ago. But okay, you the boss. You use that. It takes me to give you an idea. Next time I'll just go above you. Give it to those who can actually get it implemented. Then I can get the kudos for having a great idea instead of having you steal it from me. Well, it's the same thing on a much larger scale. But even though people on an individual basis can see that in their own personal lives, they can't see it going on the grand scale that it's going on in the government and those who are denying the government. Partly because many of those in government are part of it. Kind of like watchdogs inside the showpiece in order to make sure the showpiece keeps doing what it's supposed to do, while the actual power is still in the shadows. But people are so first world problems, they can't see the pure evil going on behind the scenes. So, yeah, Dream, pass the buck. And everything. But like I said, people mad at Trump because prices didn't start coming down on day one. Well, the process to bring that down started on day one. But with all the things going on and everything he's having to fight just to get there, you know, he ain't got no magic wand, folks, and it's only been a month. You know, so Mama Linda, her name is uh, Christine Renee, Renae, I think, on Facebook. And finger profile picture perfectly shows she is who she is. Shoot, it feels like it's been 4 years to me, Mama Bear. Shoot, the man's gotten so much done in just 1 month. Oh, Sleepy Joe would have needed another 12 years to get as much done if he would have done it. But Dr. Keel and Hunter was running that because Sleepy Joe was unfit. They just paraded him out there every once in a while to prove he was still around. It may take a while, Mama Bear, but for a lot of people, they're so entrenched to the left-leaning ideas and listening to the mainstream media and the Democrat politicians that it's going to take a while one, for Trump to get a lot of stuff cleared out of the way so that he can actually get things implemented and moving. And then once they're implemented and moving, and people start saying that what he's been doing is not being what the Democrats are trying to tell them he's doing. Now, when they say that, it's going to be detrimental to the people and this, that, and the other thing, well, it is to the people who are involved in the scam. It's going to be detrimental to them because they're going to lose all the millions of dollars that they've been scamming off of the taxpayer. And it's going to be detrimental to them because that's going to lead back to them and get them put up on charges for sedition and treason and no telling what all else. So people don't know how to think strategically because the mainstream media is all they'll listen to in the mainstream party. And the mainstream media is managed news. They're a propaganda machine and they work for the shadow government. They get paid to say what they're told to say and to push what they're told to push. They're not journalists anymore. They're paid talking heads to promote an agenda and not tell the truth. Like I shared one on Facebook today showing a snake with a fish in its mouth in the water and said the news today would report this as a brave snake saves fish from drowning. That's basically how they would do it. Well, your dad's side of the family is a bunch of idiots. I'm sorry, not sorry. There's an old picture. Shows a seagull trying to swallow a frog. While that frog's head is in that seagull's mouth, that frog's got his hands around that seagull's neck, choking him. Never give up. Yeah, you probably know a lot better than I do, Mama Bear. You have to deal with them. But I bet I could guess. But one of the reasons they want you to stop with it is because deep down they know you're putting the truth out there. And ignorance can't stand the truth. Hello. No, don't stop. I'm proud of you. You're putting truth out there and you're putting it out there unabashedly, and I'm loving it. I could introduce you to some of my other friends on Facebook. And one of them's kind of highbrow. He got a brain pan you wouldn't believe. He's one that called me the smartest man he knew. You might tell me about that later in Messenger if you want to, Mama Bear. That's right, Mama Linda. Well, if you got any kids, any age, you got to be a mama grizzly bear or a grizzly mama bear. Because these people out there are going to try to teach them wrong. so that they'll be gullible and susceptible to whatever they want to tell them. So you got to tell them that those people are going to be out there and they're going to tell you stuff that if it don't sound right to you, bring it to me. We'll talk about it. So I'm going to tell you right. Arlene, 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 Arlene. Well, I hope I didn't hurt y'all's ears too bad. But that's one of the things they're after is your kids. They make them dumb and susceptible where they'll believe almost anything. They'll be easily trapped. They'll be easily captured. And there's a multitude of very bad things that'll happen to them after that. And while they're going through it, they're going to be, how'd that happen? Why didn't mom and daddy tell me about stuff like this? So yeah, parents need to be very active in teaching their kids about life. Don't worry, Mama Bear, I'm very certain that you do that very thing. You know, strangers need to be treated like illegals at the border. They need to go through mama and daddy and be vetted very thoroughly before they are allowed to have anything to do with the kid. He is Mama Bear. He's got this man named Tom Holman and a DHS person out there named Christy Nome. Sammy! And they out there actively deporting a lot of illegals and creeps and criminals and all like that. And the Border Patrol is now able to actually do their jobs and keep illegals from crossing the border. Then it's going to take a while, but they'll get them out of here. J.D. Vance, after that last debacle in the Oval Office, has shown me he's got what it takes to be the next president. That boy ain't afraid to put it out there and put it out there how it is. And the way they did that, he had Trump's back and then Trump had his back. They were showing a unified front. That's a good thing. You know, it's kind of like having a kid. You got mama and daddy and the kid's wanting something. So the kid goes to one to try to get it. Now you got to talk to your mama about that. So the kid goes to mama and tries to get it out of her. Well, now you got to talk to your daddy about, well, daddy told me to come talk to you. Well, if daddy done told you no, the answer's no. And same on the flip side of that. They go to mama first and they tell them to go to daddy. And daddy says, well, you need to talk to your mama about it. Well, I done been to mama. Well, mama said no. Then the answer is no. A unified front. And that's what Trump and Vance did in the Oval Office during that little debacle with that little sport brat entitlement baby Zelensky, which, as far as I'm concerned, they could let Putin have him. And now the people in charge over there are looking at impeaching him. And then you got Democrats over here wondering, Well, how can they impeach him if he was never elected? Not letting you comment. I see. I know. And saying that, I see you said hi to Mike. Well, it's not dictatorship, it's oligarchy with a shadow government been running things behind the scenes. And a lot of it, from what I was learning from a guy on Benny today, is uh, folks in Wall Street running a lot of it. But I can guarantee you they too work for China. Because everywhere you go, you see a tinge of China mentioned in all of it. So we need more. Yeah, we need a lot of more than fired. We need them thrown in handcuffs and charged, pending court dates for treason. And then I hope to take them all down to Gitmo and build a great big old platform that has a whole bunch of long lengths of hemp hanging from it. And then use them publicly, televised. Let it be seen what happens for folks who commit treason. Huh. Well, because of what I'm talking about, YouTube may be trying to shadow ban me and making it hard for folks to comment what they really want to comment. Because it's got a little better on Facebook now since Zuckerberg once again bent the way the wind is blowing. But YouTube, Google, and all that's still going to be a different animal. It's going to take a little longer for them to get with the program. So, you know, there's like some of them saying out there, like with Doge, Elon, they trying to come against him now. Oh, he's only been a U.S. citizen for 22 years. But yet those coming across the border illegally, oh, come on in. How does that make sense? It don't. But the reason they're coming after Elon is because he's exposing the things that he's exposing. He's exposing the fraud, the waste. A lot of those things that are listed as what that money's going to, I'll guarantee you, is code for specific people. And he'll get to that. He's far smarter than I am. If I can think of that, I know he already has. Because he's probably twice again the IQ I got. Not that I've got a bad IQ. I took an IQ test once, had 20 minutes. It was 4 sections. You got 5 minutes per section. Well, one section, I didn't know anything about it. It was some kind of geometrical math or some such. But I did the other 3. I still came out with 105 IQ according to that IQ test. Not too shabby. And I was done with it in less than 20 minutes. Even if I knew stuff about that 4th section, I still would have had time left over. So not too bad for less than 20 minutes and only being able to answer 3 out of 4 sections. So I might be banging somewhere between 110 and 130. Maybe a little more. Don't know. But Elon, that boy probably got 180 to 100. It's either 170 to or 180 that I saw actually listed as his IQ. He's probably closer to 200. That boy is as smart as they come. And he's got boys working with him that have IQs that are 180. Yeah, they say genius level is 160. Him and those with him have got IQs that are 10 and 20 points higher than that. But they hate him for finding this stuff. You know, which that don't make no sense to me. Avid! Well, yes and no, Avid. Elaine ain't feeling well. She's having one of her bouts, and we went to get Chinese, and that made it worse, evidently, and made for a bad night, and so she's resting. It's affected me a little, just a little. So we're going to have to stop eating out. But anyway, it don't make no sense. They're hating on the one that's finding the corruption instead of being mad at the corruption that has been found. Their justification is that, oh, it's not really real. He ain't really found that. He's just doing it to get himself richer. No, he's doing this for free. They can't get that concept through their brains. And it's because they're all brainwashed by the mainstream media and the Democrat politicians. Like I explained in my previous video, you know, they claim not to trust the government, but they're believing what the government is telling them to believe. Well, their actions belie their words because, you know, you're believing what the government is telling you to believe. Indiana Chris! While claiming not to trust the government. That is called total blind trust and loyalty. That which they try to claim of us with Trump. A lot of folks don't like the way Trump's doing some things. Problem is, I see what Trump is doing and the things he's doing and how he's doing them. It's because he's thinking he's up on a much higher level with his thought process and how to work things. A lot of folks down here, mentally, strategically, don't understand what it is he's doing. I do. Well, of course I am. My soapbox is about truth, India. People got a problem with truth. They don't need to listen to me. Well, Derek, it's not that they're closed-minded. What it is they put their money on a certain thought. It's the old Ford and Chevy thing. One buys a Ford, one buys a Chevy. Well, one of them stays in the shop. The other one stays on the road. But the one whose vehicle stays in the shop is talking about what a piece of crap the other one who stays on the road is. Why? Because that's what they put their money on. That's what they put their opinion on. That's what they put their word of mouth on. So even though theirs stays in the shop all the time, they're going to claim it's better than the one that stays on the road all the time. And because that's what they put their money on. Well, they put their money on the Democrats. They believed it wholeheartedly because they believed the Democrats when the Democrats tell them, oh, they're for the people, they're for this, they're for that, they're for the other, when they're not. And now it's coming out and being shown proof positive that Democrats aren't for the people, they're for themselves. But since the people who have voted for them have put their money on those Democrats with their vote, they're going to double down and keep going at it. Because that's what they put their opinion and word of mouth on. And rather be wrong, they'd die before admitting they were wrong about their choice. No different than the Ford and Chevy thing. Same thing. It's cookie cutter. You have to be willing to admit you're wrong before you can move forward and be right. Me too, Derek. No, I think everybody should have their opinions and differing opinions. But the thing is, in order to have a debate on those opinions, you've got to be open to the fact you might be wrong and see the logic in what somebody else is trying to convey to you. But likewise, they also need to be open to the fact they might be wrong and should listen to what it is you're trying to tell them. And then somewhere in the middle, you come up with an equation that actually works. Like, for example, a lot of people think conservatives are all about, wiping out all drugs. Some drugs I can agree with. They don't need to be in existence. But now you take alcohol or marijuana, as long as they're pure. If someone wants to partake of that in their own home, not be out on the road with it, got their bills and family took care of, and they want to dab in that a little bit, more power to them. Go for it. You want to take a toke? You want to take a sip? You're being responsible. I ain't got a problem with it. But if you're not taking care of your family, or you're taking it out on the road, then I got a problem with it because now you're being irresponsible. Kind of like, you don't infringe upon my rights, I won't infringe upon yours. And like with the roads, what people have to remember is driving is not a right, it is a privilege. And if you break the rules of the road, you can have those privileges taken away because it is not a right. If you get out there acting a fool in your car, whether it be reckless driving, smoking a joint, drinking a beer, whatever, now you're putting other people's lives at risk. And I'm all for you having your privileges of driving taken away for it. But if you're doing it at home, your family's taken care of, and you can afford to do it every once in a while, go for it. No harm, no foul. That's your business. But once you take it out on the road or you ain't taking care of your family, now it's everybody's business. You think you're gay or lesbian? Fine. That's your business. Don't put it in my face and force me to believe what you believe. And that's where they make the mistake. They try to make everybody, put it in everybody's face. When Budweiser did that with that creepy looking thing, That's where they messed up because they was trying to force that ideology down everybody's throat. Lazy days. Well, here's the thing. It's common sense if you know anything about business. You got that big a business, you're going to donate a little bit of money to everything out there. That's just good business because then you get people from every type of life want to come buy your product because you donate a little bit to their causes. But when you take one cause and make it your marketing strategy, trying to force it down the throats of everybody who don't agree with that ideology, you're going to lose. And that's what Budweiser did. That's why they lost so badly. Anybody with any sense knows that they were probably donating to such causes because, help them bring them business, get business from that little niche market. But then they try to take that niche market and force it on everybody. Then they lost. And they lost big. Yeah, and that's a crying shame, Mama Bear. Well, and yeah, they can't afford it like they used to. I think they took like a $30 billion hit in that first month. And then it got worse. They've leveled out, but they have not recovered that $30 billion. And they were known as the king of beers, number one selling beer. They're not no more. I think Modelo took that spot. And they might not never get that back. It's like my senior drill instructor in boot camp taught me. He said, you can have 1,000 attaboys, but you get one, oh shit, it'll wipe every one of those 1,000 attaboys out. Well, you got the money to pay for the commercial in Indiana, you get a commercial. Simple business. But it doesn't mean that they're going to recoup what they've lost. And it doesn't mean that they're going to reclaim their title as the king of beers. That's just common sense. Because they pissed off too many people at one time with one thing. That's right, Lazy Days. You got it. Exactly right. I'd say 9 out of 10 people think that that is a mental disorder, and they try to take that mental disorder and force it down everybody's throat as okay. Made that representative of their company. No, they may be making money, all right? But they're not making the money that they would have been making. You see what I'm saying? There's $30 billion worth of business out there that is no longer theirs because they pissed that $30 billion business off enough to say, no, we're done. That's the thing I was saying. Any company, you take and you piss off a big enough group of people, you'll never get that group of people's business back. and you'll never recoup that money. I wouldn't mind having one of those, Mama Bear. So they'll never recoup that amount of money, a recurring amount of money. They may have recovered some losses, but they will not recover the loss of that $30 billion worth of business recurringly. Yeah, that's a lot less than it would have been. Because, see, there's $30 billion worth of business, recurring business, that they lost. Gone. So there's $30 billion worth of business they ain't getting back. That's right, Derek. They did. So when I want something, I do something different. And that company, probably donates to such groups as well. But they ain't trying to make that group the symbol of their beer. Yeah, whereas it used to be Bud. And when Bud messed up and lost that big group of business, they ceased to be the leading beer seller. There is that, Mama Linda. Oh, yeah, it went way wrong. And they lost an amount of business that they will never get back. They may have recouped some losses and keeping their head above water. Adam and Eve, I always say. Okay, don't know that reference other than Adam and Eve of the Bible, but, you know, they went wrong. They've recouped. They've stayed afloat now, but there is a massive chunk of business that they once had that they're not going to get back. Because as far as a lot of us are concerned, they showed their true colors. They tried forcing an ideology that we all know is wrong down our throats and not going to spend money on that. And it is a huge chunk of business. It's called a major boycott that stayed in place. I know they've been trying to do commercials here lately, trying to be geared more towards right-thinking people. But no, you done did an odd shit. You're going to have to get a few more thousand attaboys to make up for that one odd shit. Simple as it gets. Yeah, they're still in business. They were able to survive, but they're nowhere near what they once was. And might not ever regain title of King of Beers. Oh, yeah. Love the Clydesdale commercials. Yeah, that was something that appealed to everybody. If they'd stayed with stuff like that, you know, or the three bullfrogs. But, sir. they'd have stayed with stuff like that, they'd have been okay. But like the old saying goes, go woke, go broke. They went woke, they about went broke. And I can guarantee you shareholders aren't happy with them because their shareholdings aren't as good as they used to be. Yeah, frogs were something else. I love that. And that's the whole point. They had it going on. They had the 1,000 attaboys, and they did an odd shit. When they did that one odd shit, Amy! They lost all those attaboys. They're having to dig themselves back up out of that hole. And once they get out of that hole, they're going to have to start trying to climb back up, gaining attaboys again. And then they're going to have to get up to 1,000 or 2,000 attaboys before they even start to gain traction on gaining back that big chunk of business they lost. It's like you got a business and you're doing something for folks, and you've normally got a great record for stuff, and then you do something wrong with the wrong one. You got a lot of contacts. You do something wrong with them, and you are in the wrong. And all they got to do is speak about it. You lose a whole chunk of business that you're never going to get because of that one screw up. You might still do well. You might still have a pretty good business. You might still make a pretty good bit. You might learn from that mistake. But there's going to be a whole chunk of business out there because of that one that you'll never get. No matter how good you get. Because you screwed up that one time with that one. She's laying in bed resting, Amy. She had a bad night last night. She's feeling some better, but she's tired. But, so anyway. That's just it about that. But going woke seemed to be the thing at the time. But they found out the silent majority speaks with their wallets. Yeah, she's having a bit of issues with her belly, and then something else made it a little worse and took a lot out of her. And so we went to get Chinese so she wouldn't have to cook, and that just made it worse. And so she had a bad night. And for a long time, and she finally able to go to sleep sometime this morning, slept for a long time. But she still wasn't with it when she woke up and she went to lay back down. No, Indiana, Chris, that is wrong. It is the love of money that is the root of all evil. Money itself is just a tool by which we trade with one another. It is the love of money that is the root of all evil. There's nothing bad about having money. If you're able to make more money than I do, which most people do anyway, I'm disabled on a fixed income. I don't hate anybody for having money. If they work for it, come by it honest, whether it be they dug ditches to get there or they were smart investing their money. If they've got some money, they worked for it. I hold no ill will towards anyone who has money of any kind. My neighbor has got $1 million in the bank. He tells me about it, and he's got other assets on top of that. You know why he tells me about it or has told me about it? Because he knows I don't envy him or am jealous of him for having it. Because he earned it. Introduced me to a friend of his that he told me makes him look like a pauper. Because that man's wife is really good at investments. Well, I don't know if it's uh, bacterial infection of any kind or not, Derek. So she's diabetic, she's a cancer survivor, and she don't have a gallbladder. That's a lot of it. And it might be a strong possibility that she is uh, on top of lactose intolerant, gluten intolerant. So we might be looking into that. I don't know yet. Rambling with the Brums. Look it up in the Bible, Chris. It'll tell you. The love of money, not money. A lot of people have gotten that wrong for centuries because they've watered it down, repeating it. And you know what happens when they took, I've seen examples where put 10 people in a line. Now, on the other end, there'd be a person whisper something into the first person's ear. And then they have them whisper it to the next person, and so on and so forth, until it got to the last person. And the last person would whisper it to the person who began the thing. And then that person would show the difference between what he actually said and what it got turned into just going from through 10 people. It got changed. Because each person heard it different, might not have heard it right. So they filled in the blanks in their own mind automatically and then sent it on that way. So by the time it got to the end, it was totally different. No, the Bible says it is the love of money that is the root of all evil, not money. There's nothing wrong with having money if you use it right, if you get it right, if you've earned it one way or another, legally, morally. Ain't no problem with that. It's when you have the love of money. You have the love of money, you'd do anything for it. You'd steal, kill, whatever you had to do in order to get it. So that's why you got to be careful with such things, Chris. You got to take and look things like that up for yourself. And my suggestion would be if you go looking at a Bible, you get a King James that's published before 2010, because bookmakers started printing things that weren't correct and omitting things that should not have been omitted. So you have to be careful with that. That's why I don't trust the Bible apps. That's too easy for them to have been fiddled with. So, when it's biblical, it's best to go look it up for yourself and not just take it from somebody else that that's what it says. I know what it says, but I'll tell you, go look it up for yourself. Well, it's either she said it wrong or you received it wrong. somewhere in your mind you missed the part of the love of. I don't know. But one way or another, it was transferred into your brain incorrectly. Go get that King James Bible, look it up. Nothing wrong with having money. You've earned it morally and legally, and you don't let it rule you. You're welcome. You're fine. It's just like alcohol. The Bible says not to be given to strong drink. A lot of people have taken that to mean you shouldn't drink. No. They drank nothing but wine, and that wine in that day was about the same alcohol content as beer is today. But they did have stronger drink. But what would it mean to be given to something? To be given to something means you'll do anything for it. Thank you, Lazy Days. I appreciate that. To be given to something means you'll do anything for it. So if you imbibe a little bit, but you can take it or leave it, and you're not obsessed with getting it, wouldn't do anything for it, you're not given to it. But like an alcoholic is given to it. And if the signs of alcoholism is detected, they should try to stop then and get away from it, because it's going to lead them to on a bad path. Unfortunately, most don't. And there's another part of the Bible that also says this: it is not what goes in the mouth that defiles the temple of the Lord, which the body is the temple of the Lord. It's what comes out of the mouth that defiles the temple. Think on that. Y'all look that up too. Makes a big difference in what the word is actually trying to tell you. Doesn't matter what you eat, as long as it ain't poison. I can't have chocolate because chocolate is poison to my body. It will put me in the floor dead almost exactly 24 hours from the time of consumption. Elaine knows she's had to pick me up at the floor. And I was still dead. It put me out on the floor. The glasses I had on, they're rather big, rather sharp edges, face plant on the floor. Glasses slid off. Cut my nose right here as they came off. There was no blood. None. Even after she got me up off the floor and I started coming to, there was still no blood. Till after about a minute that I started coming to. We happened to be going through marriage counseling at the time before getting married, and the psychologist there, wonderful man, he knew the medical side as well as the psychological side. We told him about it, and he said, "Yep, you were dead." the heart ain't pumping, there ain't no blood coming out. I was dead. I can't really advise you as to what kind of church to go to or look for in Indiana. If you want to look for one, but something I learned a long time ago, you might can get 1% truth out of all of them. I wanted the places I find 100% truth. I do like Pastor Greg Locke. I started listening to him before he became on fire. He was good as just a plain Baptist minister. Then the Holy Ghost got a hold of that boy, and I'm going to tell you what, he's been on fire ever since. Okay. Appreciate that, Amy. All right, Amy, you take care. Be careful. Stay safe. Tell everybody I said hello, I love, and all that good stuff. Yeah, well, I was sitting at my desk. I gagged a couple of times. Thought I'd hit the corner of my desk. She said, no, I just hit the floor. I remember hitting my head and then bam, down in the floor, face plant. Thank you, Lazy Days. I really appreciate that. But yeah, if you want to hear the word and hear it good, listen to Pastor Greg Locke. Pastor John Hagee is another good one. Over 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, I was listening to him, and he was telling the story in his preaching and point of person knows what they're doing, they can make you believe the Bible says anything they want you to. Don't make it the truth. What he said was, I can tell you that King David rode his triumph motorcycle across the desert in victory. He said, and I could prove it. He said, but don't make it the truth. And Ben said that man at that time had count them, 4 doctorate degrees in history. I have no doubt that he could prove to you that King David rode a triumph motorcycle. But it don't make it the truth. Woo, Lazy Days. Jesse, you hot on it. I appreciate it. These are the kind of people that I've grown up listening to. Well, in my adult life anyway. About the last 10 years with Greg Locke. Now, I don't listen to him a lot, but every once in a while I listen to him. And like I said, he was a good Baptist minister. But then the Holy Ghost got a hold of him. That boy on fire. He don't back down from nothing. If you want to know truth in the Bible, that man knows it. And he'll prove it to you. And it be the truth. That boy got the Holy Ghost working in him. Something fierce. You can feel it through the screen. Yeah, Indiana, what Mama Linda said, because why you think they hit that chest? Get it to start back up again. But see, Elaine didn't hit me to get mine going again. And I was dead on the floor. Hitting the floor didn't start my heart back up. Because she got me picked up, stood up, and standing there. I thought I was still laying on the floor, Chris, when she had me up. I thought she had gotten down there with me and was looking at me in the face. I still was not aware of my body. She had me standing up. Well, thank you, Chris. Likewise. But and then it took a minute for the heart to start pumping again and the blood to start coming out my nose from where it had been cut. But up until that time, there was no heart pumping because there was no blood coming. And on the nose, y'all know that's a very sensitive area. It's going to bleed real easy. So, all right, Chris, you take it easy. Derek, I'm just here and I say what I say, whatever pops into my mind as it comes. I think it was Peter that was told, think not for what you shall speak, for the words you will need will be given to you in the hour in which you need them. That's what I do. I just talk. Whatever comes to my head. So, as I tell folks this. If wisdom or knowledge you gain from what I speak, that is God, not me. For I am neither knowledgeable nor wise. So thank God, not me. I'm just a mouthpiece. I'm not the one. When you get that kind of knowledge and wisdom, I'm not the one that you should be seeing. I'm not the one that you should be thanking. God is the one that you should be thanking and seeing. Because it is God's wisdom and God's knowledge, not mine. He puts it in my head, I speak it. Me and God had a fight one time. You ever seen Forrest Gump? You seen that showdown Lieutenant Dan had with God in that storm? Well, the fight I had with God would make that look like a walk to the park. And trust me when I say, I do not suggest taking on that kind of fight. Because you will lose. So God and I came to an agreement. He tells me, I speak it. Simple as that. I'm just a vessel, folks. I'm just a vessel. There's been a time I've written Facebook posts. I'd have people thanking me for what I said. I'd have to go back and read the post to see what it was I said because I didn't remember. Because that was God, not me. I thought, oh, okay, I see. And I'd have to tell them, don't thank me, thank God. Because any knowledge, wisdom you gain from what I have said, that's God, not me. Because God is the only one that is wise and knowledgeable. I'm not. Do I have some brains? Yes. For me to say that I'm not knowledgeable or wise is not self-deprecating because it is the truth. I recognize my intellectual limits. Yeah, I'm fairly smart. You know, I'm not Yogi, I'm Boo Boo. Yogi likes to think he's not your average bear. Well, he's not. But Boo Boo was the one that always had some sense. Well, I'm Boo Boo, not Yogi. I'm not arrogant or narcissistic or anything like that, like Yogi was. Yogi thought he was all that. Boo Boo always saw the folly. So when people around me are being full of folly, I say it. I'm kind of like, make that make sense. Because to just go along with it and do otherwise is just to enable that person to keep being deceived about themselves. I'm not deceived about myself. I know I've got a certain amount of intelligence, but that's as far as it goes. You know, I'm probably hitting about 110 to 130 on the IQ. But I don't pretend to think that I could compete with somebody that's got an IQ of 150 or more. Just ain't going to happen. Derek, you're big enough to be Yogi. You're a big boy. Until I met you, I didn't realize you were that big of a big boy. Because it didn't really convey in the videos you had done up until that time. But yeah, anytime I say anything and y'all get any wisdom or knowledge out of it, don't let me be the focus of your thankfulness. Because I'm just a vessel. That knowledge and wisdom comes from God, y'all. It don't come from me. That's the difference between me and a lot of others. I don't pretend to be anything grand. Now, I have been told some things that, or a thing, that is not bad. It's not a bad thing. But it's also a thing that I cannot say of myself. Because once I do, then things get bad for me. And that particular gift be gone. You are indeed, Derek. You are indeed. So, but again, like I said, knowledge and wisdom you gain from me, and that's part of why I'm here is to put that out there, put out there whatever it is God may put on my heart. So your brain, your mind is your heart, not this heart. This is where your heart is spiritually. That's where you live. The brain is basically just a CPU that's kind of a machine language translator between the spirit and the body. That's it. The alpha wave, as they like to call it, is your spirit, is who you are. And the brain is the CPU and machine language translator inside that computer that enables the spirit to speak with the body to do what the spirit wants the body to do. Oh, I knew what you meant, Derek. I can read some internetese. Not always, but sometimes. I will still be going live tomorrow night just to keep things in balance. And as always, I started out on some things, ended up on something else. Such is the way of things when God has something He won't say. But I cannot stress enough. Do not let me be the focus of your thanks when knowledge or wisdom you receive from what I have to say, because that does not come from me. Period. just a vessel with a mouth willing to speak it. That's it. But I've been on here longer than I thought it would be. It's almost an hour and a half since I started. I think I'm going to get off here, let y'all go, and I'm going to do my thing, whatever that may be, which is watching videos and playing games. Love each and every one of y'all. Hope y'all have a great evening. Piggy loves you.